Alright, what's up everyone? Welcome to my first official review. I wanted to say before we get into it that I am very new to this, so please bear with me on this one. And just to make sure y'all know that this is just my opinion, feel free to state yours as well in the comment section, or if I put some incorrect information on here, as we're going to be going just a tiny bit into the history of Fortnite, to correct me if that's your kind of thing. I don't mind criticism at all. So here we go into the video. So Fortnite has been around for quite a while now. It was released in 2017 as a co-op player versus environment, or mostly known as a PvE game, with a single game mode called Save the World, where you essentially build up your own bases, obviously with your friends, and you take on zombie-like enemies from, well, taking over the world. I can't give much information on it because I have not played it myself. I've stuck to the Battle Royale version of it. So later on that year, in September, Epic Games released their own version of a Battle Royale, possibly to rival PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds or PUBG, whichever you prefer, which at the time had become a huge success around the world. Soon Epic Games would realize that they had a hit game, reaching a player base of around 10 million players during its first 2 weeks. The game would continue for 10 seasons, winning awards, starting up controversies, and getting a Battle Royale standalone version that was released on every other console on the market, and even getting a mobile release on smartphones. With this history behind them, it's now 2020 and Epic Games is in its second season of its newly, I guess you could say, revamped or reset of Fortnite. In October of 2019, Epic Games decided to scrap some of the items and vehicles and basically just some of the things they've put in the game. I won't say mechanics, but mostly items and vehicles. And basically start fresh with a whole new map, a new challenge system, and I guess you could say somewhat a new backstory, if there is really any, to this game, and a revamped name of the game. For the sake of this video, we will only be touching on the second season, as that is mostly what I have knowledge of, because I did not play much of the OG Fortnite. So for the sake of this video, we're going to stay on the second season of the Battle Royale mode for Fortnite Chapter 2.
We need a change. Look at the world that we live. Look how the evil is grown. All the innocence lost. We need a new beginning, man. The vision is off. We need to wage war. Yeah, we need to rage on. I'm here. War boots, I'ma buy a pair. No suits, just spicy. Grassroots is a white gear. I'm still fly like a pilot here. Brave hearts never die in fear. I ain't a stranger to the danger. I'ma live and I'm dying here. Yeah. So I'ma get up more. Cause I know what I'm up for. We need a change, and I'm starting an uproar, and nobody can stop us. Yeah, we starting a ruckus. Yeah, we're starting a ruckus.
First, I want to talk about the graphics, as there isn't really much to talk about. Epic absolutely made a great looking game going with this cartoony looking style, something similar to Overwatch, or at least that's what it reminds me of. Textures look great, and for the most part they are very in depth. The lighting looks very good, especially when you're nearing or inside the storm itself. That is where the lighting, well, shines. Fortnite's cartoonish style fits perfectly with the in-game world. It is very colorful at times, and actually is kind of cheery, which works well despite the fact that the whole point of the game is to run around killing everyone that stands in your way of that victory. Character models are also very cool looking. All of the skins that are released are highly detailed and fit whatever, I guess, the theme that they were going for. It's perfect, which is a huge one up for the game in my opinion, since most of the time you will spend on this game, you will be looking at your character's back and other things. Sometimes we're not going to go into detail about that. In short, Fortnite's graphics get the job done. It's not, overly dramatic. It's not realistic looking. It's not breathtaking, but it's a pretty game to look at in almost every environment you're in. It's well optimized as far as my experiences go with the game. The cartoonish look fits the game well, and the biggest accomplishment in this department, like I said, in my opinion, has to be the different character models and the skins that are released. Alrighty, so the audio. The audio and the overall sound design in this battle royale, let alone any kind of shooter, is actually very important. And while Epic struggled in the beginning, at least as my experiences, they have done a really good job of, I guess, slowly perfecting it. The game isn't really known for outstanding music, or at least in my opinion, I don't think so. I have the in-game lobby music turned down to where I can barely hear it. The original lobby music honestly makes my balls itch. I fucking hate it. And it is the sole reason I have my music settings as low as I do. But luckily Epic has added a bunch of other tracks that you can unlock the more you play the game, the more you level up in the battle pass. Now besides the actual music, the important stuff is the shit you hear while you're in a match. I started playing during season 2. While I wasn't on the game 24/7, I do remember a good bit of players complaining about the footsteps of other players, which is the same issue that Modern Warfare has gone through, this year, which that's a totally different story. But don't quote me on this, but I do believe at one point the footsteps of other players were set too low at one point, which made it harder to pinpoint players' locations. Obviously, nowadays, Chapter 2, Season 2, the audio is in a good place. You can hear the ring of gunfire in the distance perfectly fine. You can take that direction from you. Sounds of enemy footsteps are at a good spot. They even have an option to visualize sound effects, an option suited for deaf players, and my god, is it a good feature. I even use it, and I know that might seem like cheating, which in my opinion it kinda is, but other than that, I don't really have much else to say on this one. I'm not an audiophile by any means. The game sounds good, sound effects are very appropriate for whatever action you're doing, and they're satisfying. The game doesn't ear rape you or anything, and the game is not, too low for you to hear. Audio's good, bro. Got nothing else to say. Alright, on to the story. Well, I don't really know where to start with this one because there really isn't a story to this game. So, yeah. Instead of having a story introducing a bunch of different characters and their roles and all this other plot points, Fortnite tells somewhat of a story through what I would call in-game events. Seasons 1 and 2 didn't do anything with this as far as the story goes. But when Season 3 hit, this is where Epic started adding those story elements, if you want to put it that way. As mentioned, Epic introduced these events by adding twists to the map and basically told this plotless story through the world by making changes to the map, adding new vehicles and items over the course of many and current seasons. Season 1, Season 2 of Chapter 2. The best way I can explain this is probably just to give you guys the gist of how they introduced these events into the game. At the beginning of Season 3, players started seeing a small dart in the sky, which slowly got closer and closer to the map over the course of the season. But by the end of Season 3, that light turned out to be a comet, which inevitably crashed into the map, creating new gameplay features and leaving a crater, which rearranged the map in one spot entirely, if I remember. This type of storytelling has continued throughout Fortnite's lifespan and continues to this day. Fortnite Chapter 2, in its case, a new faction called the Agency has shown up, which once again added new gameplay features like enemy bots, new playable characters to unlock, whichever you prefer. There's different skins you can get for them, considering what you do as far as challenge wise. But we'll go over that in a few minutes. Fortnite has always had a unique way of telling this sort of story. they were shooting for, and truthfully they nailed it on the head. An ever-changing map, new items being added, and even new vehicles always had players wondering, and even me, what would come next, and definitely added a lot of playability to the game. It just made the game more fun to play. And every time you came back to it, the game honestly always had something new. Well, here we are at the most important part of this review. Assuming everyone watching knows how Fortnite plays, I have one thing to say to sum it all up. Gameplay wise, Fortnite Chapter 2 is a very solid experience. It is very fun, but also a very rage-inducing game at some times. The game is easy to control and has very, very responsive controls, so there's nothing rage-inducing there. In its basic terms, it really depends on how good you are going to have to get to stand a chance in this game. Seems like these days everyone is a master builder in this game, and even if your shots are as accurate as Deadshot from the fucking Suicide Squad, you most likely won't stand a chance against someone who can build a 10-story tower in 10 seconds. Getting the high ground in this game is also very key to most situations, considering the damage headshots do in this game is very ridiculous. Other than that, shooting feels great, especially when using the sniper rifle. Guns actually seem balanced this time around, with the exceptions of some of the boss weapons, and of course the building is just as fast and as fluid as ever. Now I want to get to some of the changes that Season 2 has brought us. The most obvious one is going to hit you straight out of the gate. The most obvious one is literally going to hit you straight out of the gate when you load up the game, which is the new factions. So the new factions consist of Ghost and Shadow, which has also brought along some new locations. 5 of them to be exact. I won't spoil these locations, but these new locations also tack on some of the new enemies, which are going to be specific to each faction. You come across henchmen, which are AI controlled enemies, or bots, whichever one you prefer, which will do a shit ton of damage given the right amount of time. They're not stupid, but they're kind of slow. Dare you get lucky enough, or in some situations unlucky enough, to find one of the special agent bosses at one of the 5 locations, you can attempt to kill them. And if you do kill them, you will be able to loot their weapons, which are fucking overpowered. Yeah, I'm looking at Midas's drum gun and Brutus's minigun. If you aren't into breaking down doors and shooting everyone in the face, you will be given the chance to take a more stealthy approach by finding a red phone booth and disguising yourself with gear of the appropriate faction, and you can just loot away without being caught, provided you can get away from other players. So the next thing is the agents and the actual lobby. One of the coolest changes in my opinion is the new lobby. Not only is it a way to check out your battle pass level and other challenges like you would do in your normal, new change of lobby every season, but it's also fully interactive. Point and click lobby, you can check out the whole place. It's like you're traveling through the lobby yourself. Has all new types of stuff, a little bit of lore into the agents and cutscenes, all kinds of cool shit. It's probably my favorite one. So these agents I'm talking about, you can literally unlock all of them, and once you've completed all their challenges, you are also able to complete either a Ghost or Shadow mission and earn that appropriate skin for them. So I won't get into any little tiny tidbits of the patch notes of this season, mostly because you can look that up yourself and bore yourself by your own choice. Fortnite has went through many changes, and honestly, after Season 7 of the original game, or Chapter 1, I stopped playing entirely. And at one point, I did jump on the Fortnite as a child games bandwagon and basically wrote it off as a dying game. But after this reset that Epic Games have done, I have had tons of fun with this game. Season 1 of Chapter 2 was a blast, and Season 2 was even more fun. Looks like Epic has gone back to the drawing board and brought back the Fortnite that everyone went fucking nuts over during Seasons 1 through 4. If you left the game during Chapter 1 and don't know whether it's worth playing again, I can say it is totally worth trying out again. The formula is the same, you build shit, you kill shit, but it just feels better. Just like the old days. If you did like the OG Fortnite, then I'd definitely give this game a chance again. Alright, so before I do go, I want to say thanks to anyone that stuck around until the end of the video. This has been my first review video. I know it might be kind of bland, but I had so much fun making it. And I do plan on doing much more as creating gameplays or walkthroughs, as you can tell by my channels. Just, it didn't seem like something I want to continue doing. I always lost interest in doing it as it took away from me actually playing the game with having to worry about all my recording and audio, video, all that kind of stuff. So I do hope this new style of videos is something you enjoyed, and I at least gave you some new information on a game that you were thinking about getting back into, or you just like listening to me talking my opinion on a game. And fuck if I know. But I do appreciate it, guys, and I hope to see you guys in the next one. Thank you for watching.